Welcome back. So second half of the week we're working on closing out a bunch of different things, and here I'm doing the wiring there for the position lights there on the winglets, so left and right, and just got 4 different wires there, ground and strobe and position, and also a sync wire for the 2 lights to sync up. And so I just got those sorted out, and the next thing I was on to was doing the wiring for well, actually got the nav antenna there hooked up, just got the connector on the end there, and now I'm doing the heater box there for the pitot tube, and having to put a relay in there, which we'll see in a little bit. And meanwhile, on the engine here, we're just working on getting the cowling fitted again before we put the wings on, and you'll see more of that in a minute. And there I just got this little relay there, actually just repurposed a relay that I had, and because you know the pitot tube needs about 20 amps, and I didn't want to run that through our bulkhead pass-through, so I've got the switch there coming through the bulkhead pass-through, so that's, you know, low power, and then the relay I've just got to still wire the main power to that. But I did test it, and the pitot tube is coming up to temperature there. And as you can see down there, I've got the spring on the nose gear retraction there for the doors. I'll probably have to tighten that spring up a little bit, shorten it, and make it a little stronger, but we'll see. And then over here in the wings, so Jeff's got the ailerons and the rotors just about to be fitted for the last time there, so he's putting these little tabs in there so we can put some cable ties on there to hold those the cords there so they don't sort of move around. And this is what we ended up doing with the magnetometer. Just took some FR4 there and drilled and tapped it. So we've got 4 stainless steel screws, non-magnetic, and then just bonded those bits of FR4 onto the access panel. And so here's the cowling now. Got it all fitted up. Just wanted to make sure it all fit nicely again after putting the engine on, because it hadn't been on since, you know, back when we were in the other shop. And I wanted to make sure it all fit before we put the wings on. So then we had to drill out these couple of areas there on the fuselage there for nut plates, and also change those nut plates out there. They were a real pain, just too heavy and difficult to put the screws in. Same on the other side there for the intake tray. And as you can see, Devon's still working on getting the last couple of nut plates inserted there into that little flange there for where the cowling screws up to, and I replaced those nut plates there, so we just have regular screws there with nuts on those. And here Jeff's getting the aileron put into place here, Jeff and Devon. And once that was in place, we just had to hook up the connectors there and get the push rods there for the ailerons just dialed in, sort of just tuned for length. So the bell cranks were working nicely through the motion. And here you can see there's the connector, one of the connectors in there, and just got an extra bit of cable tie on that to hold it so it doesn't slop around in there. And that one there actually has the same type of thing, but not so much. And there's the trim motor for that one. Only one aileron has the trim on it, and going through the motions there, and there's the bell crank moving, and everything's all hooked up. So that wing's pretty much ready to go on the aircraft now. And it didn't take that long to get the other one sorted out as well. And as you can hear in the background, we had a lot of rain today, Friday. And it's going to continue all the way through the weekend. So here we are, just pushing the aircraft back so we can actually bolt the wings on. And have our test pilot Len is arriving tomorrow. Or today, actually, depending on when you're watching this video, on Saturday. And he's going to be going over everything and having a look and seeing whether he's interested in flying this aircraft for us. And if he is, then obviously it's going to be giving us a lot of things of what we need to do still to get it all ready. But for the most part, we're making good progress, and I fully expect to be, have a nice big long to-do list to add to my existing to-do list that I already have. But anyway, at least we're sort of moving along and getting things done. So what's going on here is basically we've backed it up, and Jeff's just positioning that drum with some foam on it there so we can rest the wing on that, kind of in the CG of the wing, so we don't have to like hold it in place while we put the bolts on. And then once that's all sorted out, we just carry it all over. And yeah, pretty exciting actually, getting the wings on finally. Seems like, you know, a long time. I know we've had them on before, but this is the first time that we're actually putting them on, and they shouldn't be coming off for any particular reason. And you know, we're putting the final hardware in there. We're just putting some regular kind of nuts on the bolts initially, and then we'll put the metal locking nuts on there a little bit later. And before you know, we start doing proper high-speed taxi testing. So yeah, here we are carrying it over. Weighs about, I think, what was the last weight that we had on the wing? 150 pounds or something like that. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Can't remember. Anyway, so we had to sort of maneuver around the 182 that's in the hangar there. Not too difficult. And then just get it up on that foam. And you know, for people who haven't been watching much before, there's 3 bolts holding the wing on. And you can see the 2 little bushings there in the back of the main spar. So those are, let's see, from memory, I think they're 9/16 inch diameter bolts that we're using for those, or 5/8. I think they're 9/16 actually. And then on the leading edge, where the leading edge of the wing meets up the leading edge of the strake, there's another smaller 3/8 of an inch bolt there. So and that sort of stops the thing from kind of you know, pivoting on the main spar there. So 3 different attach points. That's all you need. And then of course, you know, before we get it in place here, you actually have to slide the main push rod there for the aileron into place, because it sort of sticks out of the end of the strake part there of the wing. And then also there's a turnbuckle which, you know, connected to cables there for the rudder control. And then we have you know, a handful of connectors there, mainly, you know, one for the position lights and one for the aileron trim. And then we also have some connectors there, one for the accelerometers that we have, you know, for capturing some data and, you know, looking at, you know, potential flutter and things like that. And also strain gauge ones that are in the spar as well, on the ends of the spar where the attach points are. So all of those have to be fed through a hole there in the end of the strake, and before you can actually slide the wing into place. And I know I had people back in the past who have said, oh yeah, I want to, you know, have this aircraft and just be able to take the wings off and shove it in my garage. But you know, you see, it's, you know, it's not like a one-person job just to put the wings on this thing. This is a serious aircraft, not like a light sport where one person can take the wings off. So it's not something that you want to be doing on a regular basis. Anyway, it took us a little bit, as you can see, and you know, we're just taking our time. This is Friday afternoon now, and the goal was for, you know, by the end of the week and by the end of Friday to actually get the wings on. So, and I think it was already 3:30 at this point. And we've got the hangar doors shut because it had been raining like crazy, and as you can see there in the background, there's all this water had come in there because the way the grade is there out front, the doors there, when it was raining really hard, it just runs in under the doors. So we had to get the broom out there and sweep it out, because the last time we had a big rainstorm like that, water was still sitting in the hangar almost a week later. It just didn't dry up. So we swept it out of there this time, so we don't have a constant lake going on. But anyway, as you can see, getting the wing bolted on. And a few other things that I got done as well during the week, just up front, tuning things in. I had to replace, on the engine, I had to replace one of the pressure sensors. The one on the first turbo for some reason just stopped working, and it was kind of like a Motec sensor. So I replaced it out with one of the other ones similar to the ones that we're using for other pressure areas there on the engine, and then that one is now working, so I'll have that back in shape. And I also tested the remote connection. I think that was earlier in the week. So when we have the first test flight, I'll be able to actually stay on the ground and have my laptop there and be able to look at the engine instrumentation in the aircraft over the Wi-Fi hotspot and wireless hotspot, and be able to sort of monitor the engine for Len or whoever ends up being our test pilot. And so they can just focus on flying the plane, and I'll keep an eye on everything, all the parameters for the engine, and I'll just have a radio and just be able to report and just say, hey, listen, everything looks good on the engine, or something's getting a bit warm or whatever. So anyway, yeah, here we've got the first wing on, left wing on, and now we're putting the right wing on. So, and I wish we could go that fast and just get it up there and throw it on. Not too difficult though, after you've done the first one, it doesn't take that long. And the bolts actually, the way everything's been constructed, and those bolts just slide in. Once you get that thing just lined up, bolts just slide through the bushings. So not too difficult to get them on, and then just tighten them up with some with the wrenches, and everything's good. And while you're watching that, I'll just let you know with respect to our Airworthiness Certificate, over this weekend, probably on Sunday, I'll be working on putting together a program letter that we need, because we're getting this aircraft is going to have the Airworthiness Certificate in the R&D category initially, because it's not just amateur built, for recreation. And then probably what we'll do once that's done is we'll transition it to the market survey, or market survey I think is the category, so we can take it around and do demos and things like that. So yeah, I'll be working on the program letter for that probably on Sunday, and also the application for the certificate. And the registration's already been sent away. I already have an N number, and I actually already got the N number of stickers that I'll be putting on next week, along with our experimental sticker. So yeah, just starting to do the final things that you do before you're ready for test flying. And so this is what it looks like now with both the wings on. Still got a, obviously access panels that are open, and cowling still has to go on, and we just put it out on there. We were going to weigh it, but just takes a while to get it up on the scales, because you can't just sort of lift up a wing with two people, because the gear sort of extends down, the tire sort of expands out. Yep. So getting it up on the scales is a matter of jacking it up on one of the drums, and we just didn't have time at the end of the day. So I said to Jeff, just leave it, we'll weigh the nose. The nose weighed 150 pounds, which I believe is similar to last time. And we quickly pushed it out with the threat of rain around, so you guys could have a look at what it looks like all together. And I think it looks the business. Still not the cowling on there and that, but boy, yeah, it looks really good. Pretty happy with how it's turned out overall. And after what's been now coming up on 4 years, August will be 4 years since we actually got the shop sorted out, and November would have been 1st November would have been 4 years since we actually started building the first plug for the first mold. So really it's about 3.5 years of work on this, because the first couple of months was just getting the shop sorted out and getting the model finished. But yeah, it's looking pretty good, pretty happy, and we're not too far away from high-speed taxi testing, and hopefully ultimately everything going as planned. We'll be able to have it with the first flight in the coming weeks, or several weeks. Anyway, that's our update for this week. Thanks again for watching, and please share and like and subscribe as you see there, and we'll see you guys next week.